Welcome back. In this video, we are going to implement the button functionality, and therefore we're going to implement the CLR button as well as the OnClick button functionality for all of the other buttons, except for, of course, the operator buttons. So we have this equal sign, this plus, and so forth. All of those will get different treatments later on. But for now, we had this function onDigit, right? And what it did is it just displayed something on the toast. Well, now what I want to do instead is I want to write something into my text view input field. So what is my text view input field? Well, it is my very top text view. So this text view doesn't have an ID yet. So let's give it an ID. And I'm going to call it TV input. Because, well, that's what it should do, right? This is where the input should be shown and the results as well, but you could of course call it TV result or whatever, but I'm just going to call it TV input. So text view input. Now let's go ahead and use that text view input. And in order to use it, of course, we need to find it by its ID. So let's go ahead and create a new entry here. Therefore, let's create a private var TV input, which will be of type text view nullable, and set that to null. And then in the onCreate method, we can now initialize it, which means we can find it by its ID. So find view by ID, and the ID was TV input. Okay, so that's how we can get a text view as we have seen before. And now, accordingly, in our onDigit, we can now use this TV input. And what I would like to do is I would like to append to it, which means to the existing char sequence or to the existing text that is displayed in there already, I would like to add something. So what I'm going to do in this case is I'm just going to add the 1 to it. So append 1, like so. Now the problem with that is that our TV input is a nullable. So it can be null, which means we need to add the question mark here for this code to work. Otherwise, it just, well, displays the error as you see. So it's a nullable, and we're trying to execute a code that would not work if it is null. So we're adding this question mark. So now if it is null, it's not going to execute the code, but if it's not null, it's going to execute the code. So that just means that if TV input actually exists in the context and works, then it will work. Otherwise, it will do nothing. That's the beauty about using nullables here with question marks, because we don't have to do all of the testing with if statements. If text input exists, then do this. If it doesn't exist, then do something else and so forth. No, we'll just add this question mark, and it really does the trick for us, which is amazing. So now let's test this in our application. Let's see if it actually works by pressing any button. You can see it just appends to the existing text. It appends a 1. That's cool and all, but I would like to append the actual number that was entered. So how do I get the number that was entered? Well, I get it from the button that was clicked. And how do I get the button that was clicked? And that is something that I said in a small sentence before, like it was a side statement, but basically this view here is the actual button. So whenever this onDigit is called, the view will be the button that called this method. So here, when we have this button onClick here, the button itself with its ID and its text and all of its properties will be given to us in this method. So we get the view, which means now we can use this view as a button. So here I can just say view as button.text. So what is going on here? Well, first of all, we need to import button here. And what is going on here? I have these additional brackets here and so forth. Well, the thing is, I'm trying to access the view's text, but I cannot just say view.text, because then, well, I get an error because view doesn't have this text property, but the button has a text property. So I need to say, okay, I know that the view is a button, so I'm going to convert it into a button, and then I can access its text, which is what we can do like this. We say the view as a button. So when it's a button, I want to get its text. And well, it will be in our case because that's how we designed our code. So let's test this. Let's actually therefore go over here and make sure that the text in our text view is not going to be this calc text 1, 2, 3 and so forth, but it's just going to be 0 for now. Or we could even go as far as keep it empty. So you could even just get rid of this thing entirely here. Okay, then the text will be empty. And let's run it again and see how we can now assign the values. So 7, 8, 9, and you see all of the values are now given to our text view. All right, so that's how we can get the text in there. And then we have this clear button, and you see it displays CLR, CLR, CLR. What I would like to do in that particular case, when the clear button is clicked, I would like to reset the text to be an empty string. So in order to achieve that, I'm going to create a new function, which I'm going to call onClear. And it will also require a view because we're again working with buttons that can be pushed to us. And when that happens, I'm just going to set the TV input, because it's an optional or a nullable, I need to add the question mark. And I will set its text property to an empty string. And that's it. So that's how we can implement the onClear method. Of course, we have to now assign this onClear method inside of the onClear onClick event. You can now click on this button clear, and then it will jump to the button directly. And here I can now say that instead of onDigit, it should execute onClear. So just enter onClear here and then run the application again just to see if this is going to do the trick for us. So let's add a couple of values and click clear, and you see all of them are deleted. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for this video. Now you know how to connect methods directly and so forth. And you can also see that this is a significantly easier way rather than having to have created an OnClick listener for every single button. Because let me just quickly show you what it would have meant. Because what we need to do in that case is create the private var, and I'm going to call this one button1, which will be of type button, nullable, which I need to assign null to. And then here inside of the onCreate, I need to go ahead and say button1 will be found via its ID, and the RD is RID.button1. And then I can add an onClick listener for button1, so button1 onClick listener. And then I can say what should happen if button1 is clicked, and then I could just say, okay, well, in that case, add the 1 as a string, like so, append that to the text view input. And because button1 is a nullable, I need to add a question mark. Okay, so this, all of this code, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of code, I need to add now for every single button. That means I have over 50 extra lines of code that I would need to create instead of just having this onDigit, which really makes it super simple. I have this onDigit, I assign it to each button, and that's what I meant earlier when I was talking about why clean code is very opinionated. So Android Studio has decided that we shouldn't use this onClick thingy, but I still wanted to show you this trick because in some occasions it's really useful. And that is a particular occasion, a situation where this is going to be very useful. I'm not saying that this onClick approach that I just showed you is bad. I'm just saying that in a particular case like ours here, where we're just building a quick and dirty application, it's a lot faster. When you are using best practices, however, you should always use the onClick event that I've just shown you alternatively. Okay. So that's it for this video. And by the way, we're going to, of course, do that for all of our future applications. So this approach, we're only going to use it for this particular application. All right, so see you in the next video.